Chapter 4, The Turkish Invasion, Part 1. Objectives. In today's session, we will learn about who were Turks, why the Turks invaded India, what was the condition of India before the coming of the Turks, which dynasties ruled India from 800 to 1200 CE. The Turks were an ancient nomadic tribe from Central Asia who particularly belonged to Turkey. They were converted to Islam by the Abbasid Caliphate. Abbasid Caliphate, they were descendants of the paternal uncle of Prophet Muhammad. After the fall of the Abbasids, the Turks grew in strength. The disintegration, or we can say decline, of the Abbasid Empire in West Asia led to the emergence of several independent states. These states were ruled by Turks who had earlier served in the armies of the caliphs, and in this way slowly and slowly the Turks increased their power. But soon the Turks turned their eyes towards India as they were tempted or attracted by the stories they had heard about India's fabulous wealth. For better understanding of this chapter, we will first look at India as it was before the coming of the Turks. After the death of Harshvardhan or Harsha, who was the last Indian king in the 7th century CE, for nearly about 500 years, India remained divided into several regional kingdoms. Now, what do we mean by regional kingdoms? Regional kingdoms are basically local kingdoms of a country ruling over a particular area and are found in particular region. Now, who all were ruling during that time? First, northern and western India and some parts of the Deccan were governed or ruled by the Rajputs, while the eastern India was ruled by the Palas and the Senas, and southern India was ruled by the Cholas, the Pallavas, and the Pandyas. But all these kingdoms were in constant or continuous fighting among themselves to increase their power and territorial areas. In this way, no dynasty was able to establish a unified empire in India. The Turkish invaders took advantage of this disunity among the Indian rulers and started attacking India one after another until they finally established the Muslim Empire in India. Now we look upon the dynasties of India that ruled India from 800 to 1200 CE. First, we will learn about the kingdoms of the Rajputs. Most of North India was ruled by the Rajputs before the coming of the Turks. Who were Rajputs? The Rajputs were clans or social groups centered around present-day Rajasthan. They claimed descent from the Kshatriyas. Now, what do we mean by clan? A clan is a group which consists of families that are related to each other having same interests. The powerful kingdoms established by the Rajputs played a dominant role in North India from the 8th century to 12th century CE. Now, one by one, we will discuss all the Rajput clans and the areas they ruled. First, Gojar Pratiharas, they ruled over Kannauj, Uttar Pradesh. Chandelas, they were ruling over the Bundelkhand area between Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. The Gohilas, they were ruling over Mewar, Rajasthan. The Parmars ruled over Malwa, which was an area between Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. The Chauhans, they ruled over Ajmer, Rajasthan. So the Solankis, they ruled over Kathiawar, Gujarat. And the last were the Tomars, who ruled over Haryana. Move on to our next topic, architecture under the Rajputs. The contribution of the Rajputs to the art and architecture of medieval India was immense. Immense means very big or great in size. The constant warfare or continuous wars among the different Rajput kingdoms made it necessary for them to construct numerous forts for defense purpose from their enemies. Some of the forts built by the Rajputs were Chittorgarh Fort, Bharatpur Fort, Bundi Fort, Jodhpur Fort, Ranthambore Fort, Amber Fort. Other than the buildings of these forts, the Rajputs built several temples also that were decorated with stunning sculptures or statues such as the temples at Khajuraho. Kandriya Mahadev Temple in Khajuraho. Here in the given picture we can see the architecture of the Khajuraho temples. Entrance court was known as Ardhamandapa. The central hall of worship where the people used to do prayers and all was called Mandapa. An inner room for the main deity of the temple was called Garbhagriha. Main deity means god or goddess to whom the temple belongs. Then a number of towers can be seen in the picture known as Shikharas. Shikharas meaning mountain peak in Sanskrit. Move on to our next topic, the Palas and Senas of Bengal. These were the two dynasties who were ruling over the eastern part of India before the coming of the Turks. The Pala Empire was established in Bengal in the middle of the 8th century CE. They were Buddhist by religion and were great patrons of Buddhist learning. Patron means a person who gives money and support in terms of charity to an organization for its growth. After the fall of the Palas, the Senas ruled over Bengal and the east until 1245 CE. The famous universities of Nalanda and Vikramshila in present-day Bihar received patronage from the Palas. Received patronage means these two universities received support in terms of money or in terms of charity from the Pala dynasty. Here, an important mention is to be made of Jayadev. Jayadev, he was a poet in the court of Lakshman Sena of Bengal. He composed the Geet Govind in the 12th century CE. This poem describes the relationship between Krishna and Radha and the gopis, cowherdesses of Vrindavan. The Geet Govind is considered to be one of the finest examples of Sanskrit poetry and is part of India's rich heritage. Move on to our next topic, the kingdoms of the Deccan and the South before the coming of the Turks. Like in the north, there were a number of powerful kingdoms in the south also. Some of them were the Rashtrakuta dynasty, the Hoysala dynasty, the Chalukya dynasty, the Chola dynasty, the Pallava dynasty, the Pandyas, the Cheras, and the Kakatiyas. These all kingdoms were too engaged in frequent battles against each other. Even though none of them could establish a unified empire, they were good in art and architecture field. Art, architecture and culture in the Deccan and in the south. Contribution of the kingdoms of the Deccan in the field of art, architecture and culture. First is Kailashnath temple at Ellora. Krishnavan, who was one of the most famous kings of the Rashtrakuta dynasty, built this temple. This intricately carved temple has been carved out of a single huge rock. Next is Mallikarjun temple in Kuruvati. This is a sculpture from the Mallikarjun temple in Kuruvati built by the Western Chalukyas in the 11th century CE. Their architectural style represented a transition, means a change in architectural style between that of the Hoysalas and the early Chalukyas of Badami. Next is the bronze figure of Nataraj. The Chola bronzes, named after the Chola dynasty, are delicately crafted bronze figures, unsurpassed in beauty. Bronze figure of Nataraj depicts Shiva performing the cosmic dance. These were created during the Chola rule, are famous around the world. Next is forms of classical dance like Bharatanatyam. This also began to emerge during the same time, centered mainly around temples. Means mainly around the temples, this form of classical dance was performed. Now here, one thing you can note that the pose of the dancer is similar to that of the Nataraj. It clearly shows that how one form of art inspired the other form of art.